Alright, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat mga kapatid. Ano? Time out muna tayo sa ibang mga balita. Pag-usapan muna natin ang mga OFW. Alam niyo ba na maaari hong mailagay o malagay ang isang OFW sa POEA watchlist? Ano ibig sabihin nito? Anong ibig sabihin ng watchlist? Ito po yung mga typical na mga opensa na maaari hong maglagay sa kalagayan ng isang OFW na hindi na ho siya pwede mag-abroad. Pwede ba yun? Pwede bang gobyerno na mismong gumawa nun? Pwede po yun. For the record lang po, baka hindi nyo lang alam. Pag-usapan natin ito. Okay, sa inyo monitor, siguro nababasa nyo naman. No? Different offenses that could send an OFW to POEA watch list o yung DMW. It's like a glorified Santa Naughty list, exclusively designed for OFW or overseas Filipino workers. In reality po, however, it is only one of many penalties and disciplinary actions that OFW would be subjected to if he or she commits or gets involved in a shady acts that would result in cases being filed. Sa artikulo na ito, pag-usapan natin kung ano nga ba ang mga ito at anong magiging offense ninyo kapag kayo po ay napunta sa POEA watch list. To make it simple po, the POEA watch list is a list reserved for those who commit offenses worthy of a disciplinary action or those who violate the Code of Discipline for overseas Filipino workers. Baka hindi nyo po alam, meron tayong Code of Discipline. At kung meron pa tayong time, pakita natin yun mamaya. It's quite literally a list of names of people who need watching. Halimbawa, pasaway ka. Hindi ka sumusunod sa mga tradisyon, paniniwala. Hindi mo nire-respeto yung bansa na kung nasan ka. Pwede ka malagay dyan. It's also some sort of blacklist because having your name on the list would result in delay or restriction from traveling abroad. This is only to say that this is a list of criminals, only list of people who have cases or complaints filed against them. Depending on the severity of the case or complaints, an OFW may get his name off the POEA watch list by simply writing an explanation letter answering the complaint. What does it mean to have your name on the POEA watch list? Being on the POEA watch list could mean different things for an OFW. The worst case po would perhaps be being prohibited from flying and working abroad. A travel ban may also be issued for cases when an OFW has been issued a warrant of arrest or hold departure order. Sa kabilang bagay, sa kabilang banda, an OFW may be able to purge his name from the watch list so he will be allowed to travel and work abroad. This happens when he submits a response to the case or complaint filed against him or secures a clearance from the approval from the concerned lawful agency or the court. Paalala lang po that this only works kung ang OFW po ay nailagay sa watch list due to less serious complaint or cases. In essence naman po, there are two things that would serve an OFW one-way ticket to the watch list po ng POEA. Una, committing acts that would result in cases complaints where the evidence is strong and getting charged of having warrant of arrest or hold departure order issued. What are the reasons or offenses that may send an OFW name to the POEA watch list? Marami pong mga bagay na maaari hong magpaalala o magbigay ng atensyon sa POEA to take disciplinary actions against po sa isang OFW. Such offenses po along the corresponding penalties ay nakadetalye sa Section 145 entitled Grounds for Disciplinary Action for the Penalties of the Revised POEA Rules and Regulation Governing of the Recruitment and Employment Land-Based Overseas Filipino Workers of 2016. Para lang po maging short dito at mamaya ipapakita ko po yung sinasabi dito. We listed them here according to the gravity of offense starting from the serious offense for the less serious ones. Doon sa mas mahigpit sa pinakamababa. Pre-employment offenses po. Using, providing, or submitting falsified information or documents during job application or for employment purposes. Halimbawa, nameke ka ng dokumento mo, birthday mo, for example. Bawal yan. Unjustified contract abandonment or unjustified refusal to proceed with job application after signing an employment contract. Hindi po kayo sumunod. pwede yon. Ano pa? Work abandonment or unjustified refusal to leave for the worksite after all the employment and travel documents have been duly approved by the appropriate government agencies. Yung okay na lahat, bigla kang ayaw mo nang umalis. Offense during employment naman. Ang pinag-usapan natin kanina, yun yung pre-employment offenses. Ito naman pag-usapan natin during employment naman. Commission or involvement in felony or crime that is punishable by the Philippine laws or by the laws of the host country where the OFW is deployed. Assault of a fellow worker of the employer or any member of his or her family or any directors, officers, managers, supervisory staff of the employer. Grave abuse of authority reserved for officer exercising supervision over their employees. Possession or use of prohibited drugs, illegal contraband, alcohol, or pornographic materials violating company policy or any of the laws of the host country. Malamang sinasabi mo kabayan, hindi naman nangyayari yan. Yes, hindi nangyayari sa iba pero nangyayari sa marami. Dito naman tayo sa less serious offenses. Unjustified refusal to be repatriated in the case of mandatory repatriation is ordered or declared by the Philippine government. Yung binigyan ka na ng sanction, no? O ito, pauwi na yan pero ayaw mo pa rin. Unjustified breach of employment contract in any way. Ito yung typical na isang OFW na hindi tinapos ang employment tapos nagparipat, umuwi, tapos ganun na naman ang ginawa, umuwi na naman, hindi na naman natapos ang kontrata. Mabubuisit na sa iyo yung gobyerno. Abay, para ka ng turista nun. Embezzlement of company funds or money and properties of fellow workers entrusted to the OFW for delivery to his family or relatives in the Philippines. Violation of any sacred cultural, religious practices of the host country. Pwede rin pala kayo ma-watchlist kapag kaganyan. Violation. Sa kultura, sa relihiyon, sa mga practices nila. Violation of company policies and regulation. Insubordination or willful refusal to obey lawful order of the employer or duly authorized representative. Pwede rin pala yun. Kala ko sa company lang. Pwede rin pala yung ireklamo kayo para i-watch this. Ayan, Pasaway yan. Okay. Failure to refine the cause of the OFW repatriation only if was advanced by the employer or recruitment agency and termination of the employment was found to the cause by the OFW owns fault. Any violation of code of discipline for overseas Filipino. Ano naman po yung mga penalties sa mga ganitong offenses? Depending po yan sa gravity o sa bigat ng offense. Ang isang OFW offender po ay maaari o subject po sa mga sumusunod. Para po sa mga serious offense, gaya ng sa pre-employment or during actual employment. Unang opensa po, suspension from the participation in the overseas employment program for 6 months to 1 year. Second offense naman, suspension from the participation in overseas employment program from 1 year to 1 day and 2 years. Pangatlong opensa, permanent disqualification from participation in overseas employment program. Para sa mga less serious offense naman, ang unang opensa, suspension from the participation in the overseas employment program for 2 months to 6 months. Offense, suspension. Second offense, suspension naman sa mga partisipasyon in the overseas employment program for 6 months and 1 year to 1 day to 1 year. Pangatlong opensa, kung talagang pasaway ka pa, makapal ang mukha mo pagka paulit-ulit pa rin. Permanent disqualification from participation in overseas employment program. What does the Code of Discipline for Overseas Filipino Workers say? According po sa revised POEA rules and regulations governing the recruitment and employment of land-based overseas Filipino workers of 2016, it is an OFW duty to conduct themselves in the most professional, responsible, and ethical manner when performing their duties, fulfilling the following obligation. Una, obligado ka sa iyong pamilya. Provide their families an ample financial and moral support. Communicate OB a regular basis and preserve the integrity of their family. Para naman sa mga fellow workers, assist, support, and cooperate with fellow workers and refrain from doing acts which are not in the interest of well-being of their fellow workers. Halimbawa, pagyayaya ng magdroga, pagyayaya ng pagbubugaw, pagyayaya ng pag-iinom, at kung ano-ano pa. Bawal yan. Sa bansa naman, obey the Philippine laws at all times. Abide the rules and regulation of the country and the host country and the ambassador of goodwill of the country. And be an ambassador. Ibig sabihin, ito yung sinasabi ni Admin Arnel Ignacio. Bilang isang OFW, kayo ay ambassador ng Pilipinas. Hindi na natin pag-uusapan pa yung iba kasi ito naman po ay yan, sa mga licensed recruitment agency na. Pero dito tayo sa kabila. How can I get my name removed from the POEA watchlist? Halimbawa, nandito ka na sa watchlist. Paano mo tatanggalin yan? Depending on the severity of the case, violation ng complaints, an OFW may be able to get his name purged from the POEA watchlist so he can travel and work abroad. To do this, it is important po to coordinate with the concerned agency to get cleared. For less serious offense naman, but still depending on the situation and offense, an OFW may be allowed to travel after submitting a response to the case of the complaint filed against him. What are the conditions for the grant of clemency to the OFW po? As per po sa Section 183 of the revised POEA Rules and Regulations governing recruitment and employment of land-based overseas Filipino workers, a government administration may, upon motion for request, grant clemency for an OFW penalized with disqualification from the participation of any overseas employment program, provided po na ang mga sumusunod ay kasama or existing po. Offense, complaint against the OFW does not involve a seriousness. Serious offense, crime involving moral misrepresentation or theft, or there is a settlement of claims, or the complainant has condoned the acts. Maraming bagay po tayong dapat iniisip. Malamang bago lang ito sa'yo. Malamang iisipin mo na naman, ano naman yan? Meron palang ganyan, di ba? Pero napakalaga kasi napaka-rare naman po na napag-uusapan ng mga ganitong bagay. Hindi ho ba? Napaka-rare talaga nito. So, importante po na maging alerte tayo at be responsible din kasi hindi lahat ng pagkakataon. Tayo po ay OFW at hindi natin masasabi na pag nag-exit ka sa isang bansa, akala mo okay na. Diba? Hindi ka na babalik. Madalas ganun po yung sinasabi natin, diba? So, para lang po sa mga kaalaman ninyo, kaya natin to in-upload ang video na ito. At para meron po kayong konting informations pagdating sa ganito. Ito po yung sinasabi nating POEA Rules and Regulations governing recruitment and employment of land-based overseas. Part 1 po ito. Pero tingnan natin yung pinaka-ano lang dito para sa mga OFW. Kung di ako nagkakamali, nasa 32 page yun. Yan. Nasa 32 page. Ayan. Ito po. Disciplinary action cases po yan. Rule 1, jurisdiction and venue. Ito naman po yung against the principals employers. Ito naman po yung disciplinary action against overseas workers. Ito po yung sinasabi natin na nabanggit na natin kanina. Yung pre-employment offenses, ano yung mga offense dyan, during employment, and yung filing of complaint. Yan. Pero hindi natin nasabi kung paano nga ba. Pero anyway, filing a complaint, any person may file a complaint in writing and under oath of disciplinary action against a migrant worker with the administration po. The administration may, on its own initiative, conduct proceedings against a migrant worker on basis verifiable or official reports. Section 3 contents of the form complaint. All complainants shall be under oath and must be contained among others the following. Pangalan at address ng complainant, pangalan at address ng mga respondents, specific na akto, and constituting the alleged offense, place where the offense was committed, kailan nangyari ito, at yung reliefs or sought. Lahat po ito ay dapat gawin ng isang taong nagrereklamo. Ulitin ko lang po, ito pong video na ito ay upang lamang po magbigay paalala na meron po tayong POEA watchlist. And ayaw naman natin na madali tayo sa ganito. I hope may natutunan tayo sa video na to. At mag-iingat tayo kasi hindi natin alam, meron palang mga bagay na dapat natin maintindihan, kagaya nito. Magandang araw sa lahat po ng mga OFW. Subscribe if may natutunan.